Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the political commentator Adam Bolton and Daily Mirror columnist Kevin Maguire. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what is on some of those front pages. And the Financial Times leads with allies pledging to hike defence spending to 5% of GDP by 2035, meeting Donald Trump's long-standing demand after a pivotal NATO summit. The Daily Telegraph says Keir Starmer is preparing to back down on his welfare cuts bill in an attempt to head off a major rebellion by Labour MPs. The Eye also splashes on Starmer's planned retreat on benefit cuts to ease that mounting rebellion. The Times reports the PM's most senior aide is facing mounting criticism from Labour MPs over the handling of welfare reforms, with suggestions that the time has come for regime change in Number 10. The Guardian runs with Trump calling NATO's defence pledge a big win at the Hague summit, where he praised allies and took swipes at Spain and the media. A campaign to protect soldiers from prosecution decades after their service is on the front of the Daily Mail. The Mirror reports an investigation is underway after 10 people have died after they reported a severe side effect of weight loss injections. The Metro leads with former England boss Gareth Southgate receiving his knighthood for services to football, honouring a reign that redefined the Three Lions. And The Star says it's call over for Call the Midwife after 15 years on our screens. I'm joined by Adam Bolton and Kevin Maguire. Good evening to you both. Lots to talk about this evening, lots of big chunky stories. Adam, let's start with the front page of the FT because they've got that family photo on there from the NATO summit. I think they just clip off the Spanish Prime Minister who was trying to shuffle his way out of the edge of the photo because they're not spending anywhere near enough. And apparently he was dodging Donald Trump the whole time at the summit. Yeah,
I think he was. I mean, the joke is they're calling it not the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation, but the North Atlantic Trump Organisation now. And, you know, he's there absolutely in the middle, next door to Mark Rutte, who has got a successful summit with, at the end of it, Donald Trump saying that he is with Europe forever, which is what they were worried about, that he would, you know, previously talked about pulling the United States, which makes by far the biggest defence contribution, out of NATO. None of that from Trump this time round. So there we have a united NATO. They all have now committed to 5%, although we can perhaps question some of the fine print, except for the Spanish. And interestingly, you know, characteristic Trump, his reaction to that is to say that they're a nasty country and he might slap them with double tariffs.
Yeah.
So you know, they say the Spanish are saying they can't afford it and they're not sure spending that much on defence conforms to their ideology. But Trump's not interested; he's just slapping them around. And you know, he was called Daddy, Big Daddy, by the Secretary General of NATO for the way that he managed to get Iran and Israel to stop fighting. So very satisfactory, short trip for Donald Trump. Yeah. He's on his way back and significant change. I mean, I thought one of the really interesting things was Trump said, we're with you for now.
Yes.
You know, and basically implied that if they really do hit their defence spending, then America would be withdrawing.
Yeah, he always wants to dangle people on a string. If he's Big Daddy, you heaven knows who Giant Haystacks is going to be in this scenario, Kevin. But it does look like...
Your old wrestling, ITV,
showing our ages there.
Saturday afternoon. My Auntie Vi used to watch it.
But in all seriousness, only a couple of weeks ago in the spending review, the government was talking about 3% spending of GDP on defence by the end of the next Parliament. Now, Keir Starmer said 4% in 2 years.
Yeah, well, he's spending an extra £30 billion. There he is. Look, I'm sure he'd be pleased in one way that he's next to Donald Trump.
Looks like he's facing a penalty kick, doesn't
Yeah, well, you know, there is an unusual bromance there. He's slightly on the left. But I'm not sure those pictures do you as much good back in Britain because Trump is unpopular. But where is that £30 billion going to come from? We're going to have higher purchased missiles. It's going to be borrowed. Is there going to be higher taxation, or is he going to cut something else? Because I don't think the proceeds of growth, which used to be the magic formula before the general election, is going to actually...
although one of the things they're going to do
pay for that rearmament.
is to count in new things. So they're going to count in infrastructure, and they're also going to count in border force.
Yeah, well, that'll get you from 3.5 or 4 to the 5, but it's still going to be a big increase. The Ministry of Defence is so wasteful. We're just going to get more late projects. They're going to be massively overruns in the costs, and they probably won't do what they said in the specs at the beginning. You know, it's amazing the lack of debate in Britain on this. We're just being swept along by Trump, and I think the North Atlantic Trump Organisation is a good name for it now because he is calling the shots.
But it's interesting that there's all sorts of financial leisure demand going. I mean, for example, these F-35A planes that we're buying are actually cheaper than the F-35Bs that we said we were going to buy. So,
But the tactical nukes they're going to carry are American ones.
Yeah,
they're not necessarily going to be up to us to decide to use them, heaven forbid, but
it's not clear whether we're actually going to buy them, apparently.
Or borrow them, or just...
borrow them when we need them.
Yeah.
But at least the bodies are made in Britain by BAE. So.
There is an irony, maybe even a hypocrisy, in wanting to halt the spread of nuclear weapons around the world, including in Iran, while we're going to get extra ourselves.
Yes.
200 billion or whatever on Trident over 30 years was supposed to do the job, and now we want more nukes.
Plenty of people questioning where it leaves the non-proliferation treaty, certainly. Let's move on to the Telegraph, because it's not all smiles for Donald Trump today. Whilst he was being called the daddy by some, Kevin, he was calling others scum because of leaking details that seem to suggest, the CIA has since said not, but seem to suggest that the Iran strikes by the US weren't as successful as we were led to believe.
No, and it's typical Trump. Don't engage with the facts. Just shout fake news, attack whoever it is, because it is extraordinary. That he talked about total obliteration, which, of course, he always would. Everything always has to be a huge success for him. But then you see this leak in the US to CNN, I think it was the New York Times.
Yeah, both scum.
Yeah. Saying actually, no, it wasn't at all clear that it was total obliteration. In fact, it looked like the damage was a lot less. It might be a matter of months setting Iran back, should it have a programme, because, of course, US intelligence had previously said they thought they'd be at least 3 years away. There was no sign they were moving to getting the bomb. The International Atomic Energy Agency saying the same. There was no evidence, although uranium was enriched. So, but it's Trump. He's very thin-skinned.
Yeah.
But the whole Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, calling him daddy, you're the greatest victory you're flying into. It's demeaning for the people who say it, but he falls for it.
Yeah,
I mean, that is he's a man toddler.
But they know it works. I mean, because Trump's attacking those media organisations as scum was then taken up by Pete Hegseth, the Defence Secretary, who kind of said it with even more vehemence that they were scum. And the interesting thing is what they're doing is saying, if you question the extent of the damage done to Iran's nuclear, you are insulting the people, the military who carried it out.
Well, he has taken to Truth Social in the past 20 minutes or so, Adam, Donald Trump saying Pete Hegseth, together with military representatives, will be holding a major news conference tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what's that? It's about 1 p.m. our time. I'm sure you'll be able to see it here on Sky News. It's happening at the Pentagon. And he says exactly that. These patriots were very upset, he says, after 36 hours of dangerously flying through enemy territory, capitals. They landed, they knew the success, and he finishes, was legendary. So he's come out fighting. He's using the... He goes on as well. And
he's playing the patriotism
card.
He
lays into CNN, he lays into New York Times as well.
Iran's got no air defences. That's why the Israelis have been striking with impunity. They've taken them out. I'm sure 36 hours is very arduous. You have to have a lot of skill as a pilot.
How they did this 36 hours. non-flying.
Well, lots of refuelling in mid-air. That's how they did it.
No, but what about the pilots? I mean...
Well, like on a tachograph. There was another one to come...
A lot of caffeine, I suspect.
Yeah, did they give, you know, as they have done in the past, you know, speed has been...
Well, it happened in the Second World War.
Maybe Pete Hegseth will reveal that tomorrow. We'll find out at 1 o'clock
I mean, after
UK
his
time.
performance today, people are pointing out that he has had a history of trouble with scotch, and people...
There you go. Well, let's move on to domestic issues, Adam, before we get sucked down that wormhole. Tomorrow, certainly here in the UK, while Donald Trump is dealing with that back in the US and Keir Starmer is back off the international stage, he's got this rebellion waiting for him, Kevin, and it's covered on The Guardian and on The Eye as well, our next couple of front pages. It's an almighty problem for them.
Huge, absolutely huge. I think there are very few Labour MPs who were elected at the last election to take away money from people who find it hard to wash themselves. Yeah. That is the bottom line. The Treasury has forced this forward to save $5 billion. Department of Work and Pensions is going along with it, but it was all about saving money. And once you begin to put faces, lives, names, they're going to lose, they're going to be hit. That's why the revolt has come along. And, of course, I think the in denial line from The Guardian is because in the Hague he took a very hard line. Starmer, I'm not backing down. We'll see other papers suggest that isn't the case. And he also said it was noises off. Now, he might enjoy rubbing shoulders with Western leaders and making big decisions on the military and being with Donald Trump. But the truth is, the votes are back home, and the voters back home, certainly in Parliament and the Labour ranks, are very concerned about this and hostile. And it doesn't help to say it's noises off, because you're not meeting them at least halfway or understanding why they are so hostile.
Adam, is it the case that the bill just could not be countenanced by Labour MPs, or have the government once again mismanaged the messaging here, as they did with cutting winter fuel payments?
I mean, this is pretty remarkable. It's the first anniversary of the Starmer government next week, within a year, with a large majority, and to face, a rebellion on this side with, a third of your party saying they're not going to support you to the point that you could lose your majority is, a lot of people are saying this is a failure to communicate the need to do this and a failure to discuss it in advance. I mean, what this amendment says, actually, it doesn't say this is all terrible. It says, let's talk about it. Let's talk to the people involved and how they're affected. And, like the previous issue over the winter fuel payment, this is a reform which has losers. It's taking something away from people. So you could say, in future, we're going to change the rules for the new people coming into the system. But to actually say people now, pretty close to the breadline, who are getting benefits, are going to have it taken away is, it's bad communication. And what the government hasn't done is made the argument, because it really doesn't want to admit it, that actually, even with these cuts, the benefit bill and the number of people getting benefits is predicted to go up.
Well, the government's own impact assessment showed 250,000 people would be put into poverty, including 50,000 children. So I think for a sizable proportion of the Labour Party, it's not just the communication, it is the actual fundamentals, as it was with winter fuel.
Because there's a suggestion they might try and offset it. I mean, one of the things they could do is bring forward the money they've set aside to get people into work. So rather than waiting 3 or 4 years, to actually start spending that money right away, which of course gets more problems for HREs. Another one is the suggestion that they may say to the MPs, OK, you're worried about child poverty, actually the child benefit cap of 2 people, we might look at that one if you give us this.
The mood music has been that they would cut the 2-child benefit cap, but in the autumn. And it makes you wonder if they perhaps planned ahead. They would have done that ahead of this.
Well, it's yet again not seeing...
It's not coherent.
Exactly. Coherent is the word.
Look, it's on The Guardian. It also features on tomorrow's Eye as well, Welfare Rebellion. being their headline as well. Starmer ready to retreat, they say, which is not what he was saying in The Hague today, but he may well have to.
Well, what they are saying is this will be debated next week. They're not going to withdraw the bill. That's the key.
No, yeah, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, said that today, and she stood in for him in Parliament. So they've nailed their colours to the date. Well, just let's see.
There's going to be a lot of fallout from it either way.
The date.
The date.
Oh, the date.
The date. It's your hearing, not my accent.
Thank you both for the time being. We'll have much more, I'm sure, on the imminent rebellion from Labour MPs. We'll also be hearing more as well from Sir Gareth Southgate, who picked up his knighthood today as well.
First Minister, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Very
Nice
much,
to see you. How are you feeling?
Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims were in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Conor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute.
We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Conor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death.
Scotland has a shameful record, worse than England, the worst in Europe. So why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder.
Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news.
It's over, isn't it? The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster.
This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country.
A dangerous murderer.
Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me. I'm so grateful.
Sky News, the full story first.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin. The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks. If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
We're rolling.
Welcome to the world.
Our new podcast, starting now. It's very exciting. Every week, we'll be reporting from the world's trouble spots.
We get to hold those in positions of power accountable, and we get to ask the questions that the audience, the listeners, want to know about.
And that's why it is so important that people tune in, come along for the road, come along for the journey. It'll be fun.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview here on Sky News. With me in the studio, Adam Bolton and Kevin Maguire. Let's get straight back to the papers. Adam, let's flick over to the Sun, actually, because we were just discussing this during the break, weren't we? This Russia story. Tell us about their headline and what it means.
Well, the headline is "From Russia with Shove," and the suggestion is that some of the migrants crossing the channel into the UK in small boats are actually being set up and encouraged by President Putin. And Martina Bett of The Sun, political correspondent, has been in The Hague. She says she's spoken to high-level security sources who are saying that the Russians are even going so far as providing military escorts for people smugglers. And the reason they're doing it is to basically spread dissent and to kind of upset the political balance in the UK, which I suppose makes sense along with other cyber attacks. And they are also using, apparently, these crossings to test the security of the UK's borders and all that. Now, it's slightly convenient, A, because the government is now saying it's going to count border security as part of our defence spending, and B, because that has been taken up at this NATO summit, that they've said that. So it's a helpful story, but, I wouldn't put it past Putin, would you? I mean,
no, but I'd like to see the evidence. I wouldn't dispute somebody's spoken to her, but I think the French might have noticed Red Army escorts going through France to Calais and the beaches. I think they'd have been clocked, actually, those trucks with camouflage and little red stars on them. I think it's rather convenient. It's anti-migrant week in the Sun. It's the third day they've splashed on this. The other two over migrants working as delivery drivers and so on. But I think this.
Let's change tack and finish very quickly, Kevin, on Sir Gareth Southgate getting his knighthood today. That's on their front page.
Doesn't he look so chuffed? If you're an English football fan, he gave us great joy.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
he's waited about 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's like landing slots, isn't it? In an airport, you've got to wait your turn. But he was the most successful manager since Alf Ramsey. Although sadly he didn't win anything.
He's the first one to be knighted since Alf Ramsey.
Yeah. And he got in before David Beckham.
Yeah. Sir Bobby Robson, I think, got knighted.
Bobby Robson, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, very good.
The Royals, they're on it at the moment. I mean, in this case, entirely appropriate that they've gone for the Prince of Wales doing the dubbing because, of course, he's the head of the FA.
I think it's all a load of nonsense, but anyway.
Apparently he's very content with life after football, and I guess if he's watching Thomas Tuchel not do as well as him, that's probably quite satisfying nonetheless, isn't it? Thank you both very much indeed for the time being. Coming up next here on Sky News at 11, NATO allies commit to a significant increase in defence spending as the UK agrees to buy a dozen new F-35 stealth jets that can carry nuclear weapons.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say